Hello everybody, Elijah Williams with Williams Built Blades, and I also have a little shop called Williams Cabin Supply that we sell stuff primarily on Etsy. And today I'm going to go ahead and make on video the lantern hanger that I forge for cabin supply shop. So I'm starting out with a 3/8 square piece of A36 steel, which is just a piece of mild steel, and it's about 9.5 inches long. I make the hanger to sit about 8 inches, or hang the lantern or whatever it is you're hanging about 8.5 inches away from the wall. 8.5 to 9, somewhere in there. And works really good as a plant hanger, wind chime, whatever you want to put on it. They're quite sturdy, so there's really not too much limitation for that. So got a pretty good heat on the end of our piece of steel here. First thing I'm going to do, just go ahead and lightly draw out the end that's going to be the hook. I don't want the full width of the 3/8 stock here at that edge. That makes for a pretty cumbersome hook. I want the hook part to be a little bit finer. So essentially, there's some curves in it, if you've seen it, just for kind of decorative purposes or a little fancier, but it's more or less slightly tapered from where it sits up against the wall all the way out to where the hook actually sits. So that's kind of the purpose. A little better way to draw out steel is on your hoard here. It's more efficient because you are essentially hitting the steel with more surface area. Obviously, a radius has more surface area than a piece of flat material. So that works kind of like that. There's different ways of doing that. You can go onto the edge of your anvil and that kind of thing. I'm not really getting too aggressive here and drawing out too much steel. If I was working with a larger piece of stock that had to come down to significantly smaller, I'd use some different techniques, but right now more or less what I'm doing is just kind of putting a little bit of taper into this here. I do keep the width 3/8 real close to it all the way out. Just put a little bit of a taper. So that's essentially what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to come back further and taper it out a little bit longer. While my steel's heating up a little bit, I'll show you this a little bit of a project I've been working on. It's a kind of a scout style sheath for a little scout knife that I build. Just sit right here. I use 1/4 inch micarta for the scales on this one, just to keep the thickness of the handle down a little bit more. I've usually filled them with 3/8 thick handle scales, which really, it kind of does fill out your hand a little bit better and you can get more of a contour in it. But kind of testing out this idea a little bit as far as carrying in the small of your back and out of the way, and I didn't want something too thick. So far, it's working out pretty good. I thought about incorporating like a fire steel loop or something like that, but again, that's going to add a little more size to the whole setup, which is kind of what I was trying to stay away from. I did put a belt loop in there too if I want to carry method, but haven't tried that yet. So I'm getting closer on this. Don't have enough heat at the end here. So I need to take a couple more heats on that. And then once I get to where I will have enough length here to put my curves in it and still have about an 8.5 inch length, and I'm going to come in right here and flatten that out and draw it out a little bit. That's where the holes are going to go, where it mounts to the wall. So if I exclude about 1.5 inches of that or whatever, then I'm at right about 9 inches here, so which is not quite enough to put curves in it and still have the hook 8.5 or 9 inches out from the wall. So I need to draw this out a little bit more. Another thing that would help with drawing the steel out is using a heavier rounding hammer. This hammer is a 3-pound hammer, but it's not a rounding hammer, and I don't have a 3-pound rounding hammer or heavier. So at this point, I'm just using the 3-pound hammer. So I have this drawn out to about 11 inches, 10.5, 11 inches, not counting the portion I'm going to use for the part that mounts against the wall. Someday when I have a permanent shop, I'm going to mount my anvil on a 4 or 5 foot stump that's stuck into the ground so it doesn't move around so much. This is not ideal, but it's all I have to work with at the moment. And someday when I'm rich and famous, I'm going to get a big anvil. This one's pretty decent, it works nice. But, you know, something like a 250-pound anvil, that would be nice. But you do pay for them. So I have it worked down to just about where I want it. About 3 inches. It's about 1/8 of an inch for most of that way, and up to about 3/16 or a quarter. Just gonna straighten that up a little bit, and I'm gonna take another heat and put a bend in it right about here, like say about the 3-inch mark. And we'll go ahead and start our curves for the actual hook itself. So we got a decent heat here. Somewhere in there. So I'm going to go ahead and cool off the that tab there. Come in there like that. Start my first curve. Keep everything more or less straight. Dinky little ball peen hammer a little bit, just because I can kind of get in there a little bit better. These different curves that I'm trying to make. And it does not take much to bend that stock, obviously, so since I'm not trying to mash it around, I'm just trying to bend it. So it actually works pretty decent. I'm actually using battery power, so this is about to be a short and sweet video. I'm going to try to get as much as I can on here. But the basic idea is to make it look pretty, which right at this point I'm not doing that great of a job at. I'm actually going to come back here and rework that a little bit, push up a little bit more length on the tab that's going up against the wall there. So is there a better way to do this? Probably. I know there's more than one way to do it. If nothing else, I could probably just put it in some kind of a vise. Use some kind of plier and this and that and do that. But I just generally just forge it out on the anvil like this. So. Bit more of a charge in my battery, something I should have checked beforehand, I suppose. I actually came back and reworked this very first curve a little bit, kind of opened that up, bring this away from the back tab a little bit, so kind of like that a little bit better. Overall, what I'm trying to do is get this whole thing to drop a little bit as it curves out there. So, getting pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and put the final hook on the end here. Alright, so I've got a pretty decent heat on the end here. I'm kind of doing this backwards a little bit. I need it to come down and really drop this portion before I put a hook in it. Otherwise, it doesn't really look like what I want it to. So, anyways, you can see here, you can put any kind of different radius you want to. These different curves. It's just whatever looks good to you, whatever you're trying to go for. And I confess there is no real science to this. I just, at least for me, I should say, it's a pretty artistic pursuit for me. Just as long as I get them to look similar enough, so if somebody's not buying something that doesn't look like anything that they saw in the picture, that obviously wouldn't be that great, but I do like to put a pretty good hook on that to where something's not gonna swing out of there too easy, whatever it is you're hanging in there, so. That's real close, and probably do a little bit of tweaking on this, but for the most part, it's pretty much what I'm trying to go for right there. You can see that. So obviously the wall's right here where you're mounting it, and this curves out and gives you a hook. Let's see how I did on the measurements here. Well, surprise, surprise. I'm actually right at just a little bit. Overall length is 9 inches, and then you're hanging right about 8.5, so turned out pretty good that way. first time I've ever dropped anything working at the anvil here, so it's kind of cool that you got to see that on video. Anyway, that's the gist of it. You know, I might tweak the curves here a little bit, just so it looks a little bit better to my eye. But that's definitely definitely something that I could sell and think somebody would be more than happy with. So, one nice thing about mild steel is that you can beat on it a little bit when it's really too cold to be blacksmithing, but it's kind of the gist of it. I have to put a couple of holes, obviously, here and here, so you can put screws in there and mount it. That's how I build the lantern hanger that I sell in our Williams Cabin Supply. So thanks for watching.